All right, hi guys. I just thought I'd show you a quick how-to for our new grade assessment here. I would recommend that you encourage the kids to just log in with Google Apps. It should be a little bit faster on the network, especially when everybody is logging in at the same time. Um, and so when they log in, they should have a screen that looks very much like this. It probably shouldn't have this icon, but otherwise it's very plain. And so most kids don't know how to open applications, and that's what we need to open for this particular test, as opposed to doing it all online, which is what they're used to. So they need to go up to the little search icon at the top here, and then they need to type in test nav, like TESTNAV. And so it will open. It's not the world's fastest program. This isn't the world's fastest computer, but it should load. And then if it's the first time this program has ever been opened on this computer, which it might be, then it'll give them this whole list of possible programs. And none of them work for us. The only one we need is the one that says grade and GMAID. So if they click on that, it'll take a little bit to load, and then it will send them straight to their login. And so what you have to do is you have to give them their specific username and password. It's different than any other username and password they have. It'll be different every time they take the test. And so if you give them their username and password, they can use that right now and log in. So I'm just using a student login for right now. So once they're in, there should be 4 different options. Now, if you can see here, this one is grayed out, and the reason that it's grayed out is because I've already worked on it, and I'll explain that in a minute. So there's 4 different options, and what you want, or the one that is most time sensitive that you all have to work on together, is the listening comprehension one. So if they click into that one, then you need to read all of those questions and they need to follow along as a whole class. And that's the script that I gave you to follow along. Now I'll just show you what some of these parts of this test look like and how they can utilize it. Not can, how they have to utilize it. So there's 4 parts, like I said. The other 3 parts, it doesn't matter what order they take them in, but it does. That first part, that comprehension part, the listening part, is important. So every section gives them a test question first, a practice question, just so that they get the feel of it. They're always multiple choice. And so this one says glance to the side, and they have to choose the right response. So let's just say I get it wrong, it doesn't matter. And then they have to click the arrow in order to finish it. Now, if you click the review button, it'll show all of the questions in this section. So because this is the practice section, there's only 1 question. But when they go back and look at them all, later on when there's 40 questions or something, they can see the whole thing right there. If there's a question that they're not sure about and they'd like to go back to it, all they have to do is hit the bookmark button, and then that will show up in their review. It'll have a little bookmark there, and so then they can go back and look at that. So for us, we're good to go right now. And so then at the end of every practice section and every real session, they have to submit their answers. And once they've submitted their answers, they cannot go back and change them or go back and look at them. So with the practice ones, it's fine. Just tell them to continue on. But if they submit a whole section, even though if they're not finished, they can't go back and redo that. So if we start this section, just have a look at it. So all of the questions are the same for every student in your class, which is a little bit unfortunate for us, but it's also hard because then they can look off their neighbor. So we really want to make sure that they're not cheating. We want this to be as accurate as possible. And so now if we look at this review section, it'll show all of the questions together, and the yellow ones are the ones that they haven't yet looked at. And once they've looked at them once, they won't be yellow anymore. And if they bookmark them, there'll be a little bookmark on the side. Now, if let's say they want to just be done with it, which please don't encourage them to do that, you can go straight to the end of the section and you can submit final answers. But this is what I was talking about, where you can't go back and change it. But let's just say, yep, he's good to go. He doesn't want any more of these. He's fine. And that's just fine. It'll go back into small ones, and so then he can complete the other parts of the test. Now I do want to just show you that there's a couple of modifications that we can do for some of our students who need something to help them read a little bit better. And so if you go up here to this little person and use the drop-down menu, oh, sorry, I have to start the test first. there's a couple of options. So you can change the background and the foreground color. And so this, we don't really want to encourage a lot of kids to use this because they'll just fool around with it a lot. But for some students, that it really makes a huge difference if they're not on a white background with black text, because the lights really reflect off of it. And so there's some kids, I'll give you a list of kids that it might help, and so you can just tell them where to use that, or you can talk with your whole class and kind of show them what to do, and so they can just test it out and see which one is easiest for them to read. And a lot of kids it'll make no difference, but for some it'll make a big difference. There's also the magnifier, which is very difficult for me to use, but it's not bad. There's a few students who struggle a little bit with their eyesight, and so this will help them a little bit. You can take that off as well. You can show the line reader mask, which for some will be really, really distracting, but for others it'll be really helpful if they can just read one line at a time, and it is adjustable, so you can kind of decide if they just want to do little chunks or if they actually want to just do one line at a time. And so this might be helpful for some, or it might be not helpful at all, and so there's some that will just encourage them to try it out before we really start the test. It's not a time test, so it's okay. And then the other one is the answer masking, and so it'll kind of just cover all of the answers. I don't really think this is a particularly useful tool for any of our students. Maybe I'm wrong and I just don't know how to use it yet, but for me so far it's not that helpful. So now let's say the student is working on this section and they want to go back and work on a different section and then go back. The only way they can actually do that is to log out, sign out of TestNav, and sign it back in. Because then what will happen is they'll have those little grayed out sections, and then me as the teacher, you just have to let me know and I have to reset it, which sounds like a big hassle. It's not that big of a deal. It's a little bit of a hassle. So if they really want to not finish a section and then go back to it later, they have to sign out and then sign back in to do that, and then we can help them with that. All right, I hope this was helpful to you. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help however I can. Thanks for watching this video. Have a wonderful day.